I had a dream today from the Lord, another dream, and it was similar to my dream that I posted not too long ago with where Jesus trained me. It's similar, not that he trained me, but that I was a long time with Jesus, a really long time with Jesus. Now, I almost did not want to video this dream, but after I thought about the dream, I realized it was a Daniel kind of dream that was full of symbolism. When I understood what the symbolism was, then I realized that I have to make the video because it was an important revelation concerning the end times dream. And this dream is about the difficult times for Christians that are ahead. But the Lord will be with us. That's the good news. The Lord will be with us. Okay, so it shook me up so much. It woke me up. And it's the kind of dream, if you ever had such a dream, where whether or not you have to go use the restroom, you still have to get up. You have to get up. You're so shaken by the dream and you just got to walk it off. Well, this was this kind of dream. I had to walk this dream off. And now I want to first say, there's nothing in this dream that is traumatic in itself. There's nothing at all. But the symbolism is what is so powerful, what it translates to. So I found myself with Jesus and a small band of people, exactly 4, 2 men and 2 women. Now, we represented the people of Christ. We represented the people of Christ. Now, let me first explain to you what Jesus looked like, because I was there with him a long time. Now, Jesus had his hair, I don't know if you can see me, right to here. It came down to just below his shoulder, and it was dark cocoa brown, really dark cocoa brown. However, it was as if it started out brushed, but he had been in the field for a while, so that it was wind-blown, the top layers of the hair, this way and that way. And when I considered the dream, I realized that also is symbolic. It symbolized that Jesus, when this is happening, he's going to be down with us in the field. He's not going to be that perfect manicured look, because he's going to be with us down in the grunge with us, with his people. Now, you could say that we were a cult, a Jesus cult, because that's kind of like the sensation I got, that the world looked at us like a cult. And we were outdoors. It was in like a South Florida scenario, where it was verdant green, the skies were beautiful, and this also symbolized the times that we were yet in. Times, regular times, everything was normal. However, soon Jesus was going to take us on a move. And I can also tell you what he was dressed in. While all of us were dressed in regular street clothes, Jesus was dressed in a Middle Eastern gown that came down to his ankle, and it was kind of a rough, I won't say terry cloth, but it was real world kind of gown that you see that they wear over there. And over it he had a tunic that was sleeveless, and it was kind of unraveled on the sides, that came kind of mid-thighs on him, and he had a belt. Now, all of these were real world clothes that one could wear outdoors. And that was a kind of like a pale yellow, a cream. And they were kind of clothes that you know, a lumberjack could wear if he was wearing a that kind of a full-length gown that men wear. And he was about to take us on a move. And the time came that we were all to go into the van, and he was going to start taking it. And the dream opened where I was beginning to plead with Jesus, because I understood we were going to go on this move. And I had the understanding it was going to be someplace very different than what I liked and what I was used to. In fact, for all of us, because we all were there in this same environment. The environment representing our regular way of life, pleasant, the places that we liked. And I was pleading with him. I was telling him, you know, I was trying to tell him, you know, I like these where the grass is green, and I was telling him that, you know, I don't like cold weather, because, you know, I myself, I'm still trying to, how can I say, rebound from losing my husband, and that was 10 years ago. The first few years, I had to go through a really hard time of a foreclosure, a false foreclosure against me that turned to a short sale, and it was years of legal battle, and I didn't finally close that correctly except 3 years ago. And now I'm in transitional housing. In the interim, I've been trying to find a place to go to, and that means I've been looking all over the place. And I already know that even though there are really reasonable houses up north, I don't do well with snow. In fact, I don't know what's involved in the principle of winterizing. I've seen places that when I was looking at homes inside, they've got these tapes like a crime happened, and it says winterized. And I told myself, you know, if I don't know what's involved in winterizing, I have no place over there, if I don't even know what that means. So I already determined that wherever I'm going to be, it better be in the kind of weather and such that I know. So I was trying to tell Jesus this, as if he didn't know. I was trying to tell Jesus this. And then still, we all got into this van. 2 people were assigned to do the driving. A man and a woman. They would take turns. Now, when we were in the van, I was seated next to Jesus. Now, it's not like I'm sitting here. What I was doing when I was next to Jesus, I was on his right-hand side. I was having a meltdown, with Jesus. Jesus was sitting here, and I was next to him, twisting myself in front of him, an inch from his face, having a meltdown. I was pleading with him to keep him from taking us someplace so foreign to me. I couldn't deal with it. So what I couldn't handle, because I've already, like I said, I've been years considering where I can go and where I can't go. And I've already know that I shouldn't be anywhere up north where it snows and things like that, because I not only don't know how to handle such cold weather, but, you know, I'm at my age, I really can't even handle the cold. To me, I'm freezing at 60. And I already know this. But still, I also know that I want to be in places familiar to me. And I was trying to use this with Jesus, telling him, you know, I was trying to tell him that I am better off in a place that I know about, and so on and so forth. Well, let me tell you how Jesus was. The best scenario I can take this with is, it symbolizes Jesus, even though Jesus appeared in his 30s, he looked like he was in his 30s, and in that group I was the oldest because I look like myself here. Even though he was, you know, in this youth, he was the authority. And the people with us who represented the rest of the people of Jesus, were adults themselves. This whole scenario, even though he appeared like Jesus when he was at the age that he was crucified at 33, he still very much was the authority. It was as if, and even though I was older, it still was as if he was the father and I was the teenage daughter. And this whole scenario was like, Father that day got, and it was, we kind of had suspected this, but he that day got up and said, we're going. The whole family had to go. And he knew it would be especially hard on his teenage daughter, 18, because they would totally uproot her from everything she knew. She really wouldn't be able to handle it well. But he was the decision maker. He had plans that had to be done. However, he knew she would handle it well. He knew she would have a meltdown. So the scene was like all the family is forced to go in the car. And the daughter, who has no way of her own, who totally depends on him, had to go. And he knew that the whole trip, just about, it would involve the daughter having this meltdown in front of his face, like I was having. And because there was family, there was never any kind of question or situation where he was going to lose his temper. He was going to be stone-faced about it, intractable. This word represented Jesus throughout this whole dream. Intractable. He was not going to budge. He was going to be stern, but he was never going to turn on the daughter. He wasn't going to hit the daughter. He wasn't going to open the car door and toss the daughter out. He was never going to lose it because it was real family. And he had this wisdom. He knew this was going to happen, and he was prepared for it, even though it was going to be very unpleasant for him. He was just going to let her melt down, and when she was able, if she was able, maybe she would either adjust or not. But he was being like true family, the true father. But there was an intractability. It was going to happen. It was going to happen. It was going to happen. So what he did the whole time while I was having the meltdown in front of his face, I mean, like, great emotions. This is why I woke up from the dream. I had to walk it off because I had so much of this emotion. I was really pleading so much with Jesus. It was going on so long. And I was really feeling this despair and this distress. And I was trying so hard to get through to him. But all he did the whole time, he sat, he looked straight ahead, intractable. His face, his jaw set sternly. He was neither going to look left, right, he was doing nothing. He was just going to, because his plans were the plans, yet he knew his daughter was going to have a total meltdown, and that's what he did. And so I was the whole time pleading because I couldn't handle this. And this was symbolic, this meltdown I was having. So when we had a break and the van stopped, we got out. So the first thing that I did, I went over to one of the two drivers, which was the woman. And she was on the left side of the van outside, just stretching her legs. And I came up to her, and the best way I can describe this, it's as if we're all family, but she was a Secret Service agent, and her behavior with Jesus, as if a Secret Service agent would behave before the president. When the president says, we're going to go here, we're going to go there, even if it was a tough place, there was no flack, no kind of meltdown. Just do it. There's just doing the job. And her reaction was if I was out. She was a Secret Service agent, and we were family, and I was part of the family of the president as well. So In no time does she have any judgmental look or nothing. Because this was a serious situation we were all in. We were all on this move as the complete people of the Lord. That's what this was about. A move of Jesus is making with his people. So I asked her, where are we going? And she looked at me sideways. And all she did was she lifted her left hand up and she made this symbol, bringing her fingers together like you make her fingers together as if a symbol of a bird. And when I saw her, I said, I realized it represented penguins. And I said, Alaska? I said, he's taking us to Alaska? And she nodded. Oh my gosh, that worsened everything. That just made it go worse. So we got back in the car and I continued on with my pleading to Jesus. Now that I knew that we were going to not only up north, but to a frozen wasteland. Not the places where the people live. We were going to be out in that tundra. That's where he was taking us. And as I was pleading still and melting down in his face, I would sometimes be looking out the window, and we were passing residence after residence after residence and pleasant houses. And I felt sometimes a longing that I wish I could be like those people. But I realized that it was an illusion. Those people who were outside of the van, they were not Jesus' people. And for a while, they would be able to be in this delusion, this state, and the things that they like, cherish, love of regular earth life. They would go on there every day. They would pick up their newspaper in the morning on the sidewalk. They would go to their jobs. They would go to the gym, and they would get to come home to their nice houses or even their trailers, wherever. It would go on as regular. While we, the people of Jesus, we were going and heading into a place that was going to be very hard. It was going to be hard for everybody. It was going to be hard for the drivers who knew. Because it's the tundra. It's harsh. And what it also revealed, as this is what the part of my meltdown was about, that Jesus, even though Jesus would be right with us, he would be right next to us while we were travailing, while we were pleading with him. He wasn't going to respond, because this was a playing out of plans, of his plans, the plans that were going to be. They were going to come to be. All those things of Revelation, all those things that were said by the prophets, they were coming to play. And no amount of pleading from the children was going to change the course. However, he was going to be with us. When we were travailing and not seeming to hear from him or get anything back from us, he actually was going to be right next to us, right close to our face like I was. He was going to be there. And even though he's going to be there with us, it's still going to be something very hard. It's going to be hard for us. Sometimes knowing he's there won't help us to deal with the emotions. Still, the thing that I knew that I could look forward to, if you want to call this looking forward to, was that after a time, I don't know how long, after a time, he was going to take us out of that. That was going to be the end. He was going to take us all out of this tundra, out of this hardship, out of this difficulty that was going to happen to those who are really his people, those who are really the people of Jesus, those who are really the genuine Christians, are going to have a difficulty, are going to be suffering a hardship, are going to be going through a wilderness of difficulty, just targeted because they are the people of Jesus. And he's going to be with us. It's going to be, for some of us, very hard. Harder than for some others. But it's going to be hard for everyone all the same, because it's a harsh environment we are moving into for the people of the Lord. However, after some time, I don't know how long, I guess when it plays through, he will take us out of there. He will take us out of this hardship, but we are to be uplifted that he's with us. He's already with us. He's dressed in his field clothes. He's not going to leave us. He's going to be with us the whole trip. And after we go through this difficult hardship in this place, we're forced to go through, because we're forced to go through. It's no choice. There will be an end to it. There'll be an end to it. We will be delivered. He will take us out of there. He's not going to leave us in there all the time. But the plans of the Lord, the plans that were set before any of us here in this time period on earth were born, they are going to happen. They're going to happen. The end times, they're going to happen. Some of us, well, in this particular dream, all his people, everyone there represented all his people. If you weren't a people, you were outside of that van. So everybody is going to go through this. Everyone who's really a person of his. Everyone who really belongs to him. Everyone who really is one of his people. Everyone who is one of his people, that we're all family. That's what that was. And some of us will be able to handle it better than others. But don't get discouraged that you're not getting an answer for things to get lighter, to get easier. Because it's part of the plan. Yet he's going to be there, right there. You may even be feeling his shoulder touching your shoulder, because he's there, he's hearing. But the plans of God have to play through. They have to play through.